Okay, Neil Sims is our next speaker, and Neil's been involved with aquaculture for a long time. And I guess you guys are going to do it together? All right, even better. Neil's especially been leading the U.S. effort for offshore aquaculture. So we really appreciate all the work you've done.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Lisa and I are going to tag team this. I'm going to start out with the initial arm-waving, hyperventilating part with very little facts, but lots of excitement and enthusiasm. And then Lisa's going to come on and talk about the research that we do and actually show some of the data. I wanted to just help you understand the importance of feed to our company. And it's not just because if we're doing things well, it'll be 65 to 70% of our operating costs there. But feeds are really integral to our brand and to the scalability of offshore aquaculture, and the research and development opportunities there that Lisa's going to talk about are going to really help drive that. This is the species that we built the company on. Our parent company is called the Kampachi Company. It's in the amberjack family. It's related to the Japanese hamachi. Incredibly fast growth. We've had the fish in Mexico reach harvest size in under 7 months. Feed conversion ratios in tank trials around 1.3 to 1. Offshore, that falls away a little bit depending on your cage system. We've had recently the FFDR assessment using the methodology from the ASC Cerealocorbia standards. Our FFDR falls out at around 1.5 to 1 for both fish meal and for fish oil. There's room for improvement there, but we don't want to mess with the culinary attributes of this fish because it really does work phenomenally well. The brand King Kampachi, feeds are integral to that. Our commercial scale up, we had originally started with a flagship operation in Hawaii that was Kona Kampachi. Our commercial focus now here is on the Sea of Cortez in La Paz, which is down on the bottom side of the peninsula. And we have an offshore site there that's 4 miles out offshore, 6 kilometers, and about 70 meters deep of water. We view the Sea of Cortez as being a phenomenal opportunity to expand offshore aquaculture. These are the first 2 pens, grow-out pens that we put out there. We now have 4 pens out there on the farm site. And this is our product. It works well as both a sashimi product and cooked. The sashimi recognition is important because then we have sushi chefs that are talking about it, and when sushi chefs talk about it, then other chefs will be paying attention and thinking of this as a sashimi grade product. But we want to be able to be center of the plate. We want people to be sitting down to a 6 or 8 ounce piece of King Kampachi. We will have our rollout into the US market at the Boston Seafood Show coming up. Come by booth 3445 for all the Kampachi that your heart desires. I wanted to speak about some of our brand attributes because this is what connects us to feed. And it's all about, we say, these 3 attributes of sustainability, healthfulness, and taste. Sustainability is why we do this. It's what makes it all so compelling. And very early on, just a couple of weeks ago, we had the ASC audit team come down to our operation in Mexico and work through that. And the FFDR is for those of us that are doing offshore aquaculture, that's the really critical criteria. Everything else pretty much falls into line. When you're out in deeper water further offshore, your other impacts are minimized. And so the feed is an integral part of achieving that certification. And that certification is very important to us because it is, I think, widely recognized as the most rigorous of the standards there. And we want to be held to the highest standard. Healthfulness, the level of omega-3s and the limited, the undetectable levels of mercury and PCBs are a great selling point to people. And then there's also the wow factor. All of these 3 attributes are directly connected to the feed that we feed to our fish. The wow factor, I can talk about what it's like to taste King Kampachi. Most people, their first taste of King Kampachi is you remember that in the way that you might remember your first kiss. There will be some tonight. Please come to the event tonight. There will be King Kampachi sashimi served there. But we are in this business, we're thinking of this as a global opportunity, not just a global opportunity, but a global imperative. And we've done both demonstration pens in offshore aquaculture in Hawaii. Our next stage here in moving this forward is what we're calling the Velella Epsilon demonstration project. We're going through the permit process at the moment for a site that would be 40 miles offshore in 40 meters deep of water. That's probably not deep enough for us to be doing a commercial production facility. We'd probably have to be out 70 or 80 miles out offshore. But we view this as a very important first step. And this is with the collaboration of NOAA Sea Grants program. It's an important step for people to understand the beauty of offshore aquaculture. This is down on our Mexican net pen site here, where we have Mexican chefs and distributors and journalists out on the farm site. I love putting a mask and snorkel on people and throwing them in the water and having them literally swim with the fish. It's like a baptism. They come up from that experience as true believers, because they can see, right, you're in really deep water. This is where fish should be grown. And a demonstration pen is also critical to help the fishing community understand the benefits. This is our Velella Gamma test in Hawaii, and on any morning we would have 15, 30 boats gathered around there catching mahi-mahi and marlin and tuna and wahoo, because an offshore fish pen acts as a great fish aggregating device. And this is the way that we are going to get the commercial and recreational fishermen on board with the idea of offshore aquaculture. We also need to think of this in terms of the global sustainability. Rebecca Gentry and Holly's paper about the potential to scale offshore aquaculture to 100 times current seafood consumption levels. That's what we need to keep focused on. And the biggest constraint to that is going to be the feeds. There's abundant real estate out there. We don't have to conflict with other uses, but it is feeds. And that's where I now hand across to Lisa to explain to you how we are working towards these solutions.
Okay, so in our research work in Kona, let me figure this out here. We have large-scale tanks to be doing replicated feed trials to vet these feeds with our fish. As Neil alluded to, taste is important. We need to be able to grow these fish out to harvest scale size and to test that. Because if the fish don't taste good, who cares, right? That is the most important metric. We worked with a number of esteemed colleagues, many of them here today, on testing their ingredients or complete diets with this fish to be able to vet them. And because of that, we are one of F3 Fin's listed test facilities for Cereola. They have fantastic resources on their website for new ingredient producers and in doing this process with a new feed company. So how this looks on our end is a new ingredient would ideally know a lot about its composition, its fatty acid profile, amino acids, proximate analysis, and work together with the nutritionist to make a formula for a target species. Ours is Cereola. And at that point, we'd work together to make an experimental plan to target whatever metrics that ingredient addresses. Many of the new feed additives on the market have health benefits. We might do a parasite challenge, things like that. We're always monitoring feed consumption, growth, FCR through the trial, and ultimately we come out of it with recommendations on you need to tweak your formulation, you need to increase the inclusion, etc. And it's really exciting for us because we get to see firsthand how these ingredients perform with our fish. But it's also unique in that we are a pipeline to a commercial operation, and we'd like to find ways that we could be helping to commercialize these individual ingredients. So whenever we structure a trial, we want it structured around meaningful results. We want the results to matter in the end. These are the drivers for feed selection at the commercial farm, and Neil already touched on these. I'll brush through them. Product quality, we need high quality, consistent, stable taste, texture, fatty acid profile. Fish health, if you don't have healthy fish, you don't have a healthy business. We're very interested in the new ingredients that address fish health in a proactive way. We're looking at disease resistance, we're looking at parasite management from a feeds perspective now. That's really exciting. Growth, of course. We're in the business of growing fish. Growth is very important. Sustainability, which means a number of things to us with regards to feeds, getting away from the bottleneck of wild-sourced fishery ingredients, minimizing their inclusion. And cost, of course. Cost is a cost of feed is over half of a marine aquaculture operation. So making a difference there can make a huge impact on the bottom line of a farm. And I will brush over our progress towards fish-free feeds with cereola. This is part of the work that we've done for over 10 years with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and the Nebraska Soybean Board to develop an open-sourced soy diet for cereola. And I'm sharing results here from a commercial milling of the diet. We've seen great promising results in experimental milling and some difficulties in the commercialization because of the sensitivities of this fish to the composition of the oil that we're using. So this isn't the result that we wanted. This is an underperformance of the soy, but I'm sharing this as a teachable moment. The important takeaway is that, yes, the soy fish underperformed. FCRs were equal in this trial. And that's possible because the soy fish consumed significantly less feed when we look at the feed consumption results. And that's important because the fish didn't like the taste of it. They just ate less of it because they didn't like the taste. Palatability is a major factor in testing alternative ingredients, and it can affect the performance ultimately. You might come to a different conclusion if you didn't look at feed acceptance in that case. We've also tested fish meal-free diets and diets made by Rick Barrows. The challenge there at the time was only human-grade ingredients were available, and we're now working with Anthropocene Institute to test feed-grade ingredients and go fish meal-free, again on cereola. Separate from that, we've tested a diet, this one, where the top 3 ingredients are soy protein, processing waste, trimmings from the whitefish, and poultry, and performing comparably to the standard cereola commercial diet. Some of the other work that we do is looking at new species. There are 20-odd thousand species of fish in the ocean. What is the next big thing? One that we're very excited about is a herbivorous marine finfish in the family Kyphosids. And the reason it's exciting is that it just eats macroalgae. That's important because it doesn't have requirements for high proteins and high oils in its diet, like the carnivores that we work to formulate feeds for. And we have tried it just on baseline diets, looking at how it performs. And we like to say that this is a fish, it's a high quality marine protein, snapper quality protein that can be grown at a price point similar to tilapia. And we're continuing to develop diets with this fish, again, in partnership with Anthropocene. The challenge that we see is that at the research scale, this is really exciting. We've seen great promise. We are able to replace fish meal with different ingredients on the market, but the commercialization is the real challenge, getting these alternative feeds into the fish offshore. As a commercial operation, what we need is a complete diet in a bag. We need to order X amount of tons. We need it delivered next week. And really commend F3 for bringing everyone together, the new ingredients and the feed producers, to try and make that happen. Thank you.